The following is an Operation Podcast production. I'm the biggest proponent of like bringing all the things to the plate because they all matter. You can train really hard and you can get great results, and then you can then focus on nutrition. But there are some, I think, missing components that a lot of people overlook that matter. What else are you all bringing to the table? What else should be brought to the table that you think most people overlook?
For those individuals, it's how to help them find themselves, help them find that mindset, help them understand what their potential is, so that then it can be realized. And then I think for others that are already playing in that zone, it's how to then elevate that. For CENTR, it's been very much this notion of how do you train to perform better.
But since the pandemic was over, that actually gave us a real push because exactly suddenly you had this feeling of everyone like, oh my God, I want to get out. I want to meet people. I want to go to events now because I haven't done it for 2 years.
We're looking at all the ways that data can be captured. So there's biomarkers. You can have camera-based tech that can sense movement as another mechanism for capturing data. How do you take that data and then do real-time, as close to real-time as possible, feedback?
In gyms, etc., are always like, from the movement standards, pretty one-sided. Intensity is always the same. Every workout, every day is more or less exactly the same. And no professional athlete works like or trains like that, right?
Right.
You have different intensities, you have different programming, you do longer sessions, you do strength work, you mix different things in. And I believe that makes more sense for everyone to train like that. This is one of our taglines, that we think we are creating athletes.
Yeah.
But not in a competitive way that you need to win something or whatever, but you think like an athlete. Because you want to get better.
Right.
You compare your times, and it doesn't matter on what level. And then people, I think, get smarter in a way also to train smarter. And that will probably lead to a different business model because people were asking for different things. But I think it makes a lot of sense to do it. And I really believe that this is a trend in fitness, which will change the fitness industry a big time, like we've seen it in running or in other sports, where from jogging suddenly people became runners, and that changed the whole game. So I think we will see this in fitness as well.
What do you mean exactly by training smarter? What does that look like right now?
Yeah, for me, the biggest example is that, and these are all good products, but a lot of the classes and the gyms and the training methodologies you do, so they have one certain approach to it. And then, like I said, every training, every day, every day of the week is exactly the same. Same distance, same intensity, almost the same workout. I don't think that makes sense in the long run because I don't think you optimize your own potential and you really get better from what you can do as a human body. Because like I said, no one, if it's about building athletes and making them better in really performance-wise, no one trains like that. You have programming, you do periodization, you do very different intensities depending on where you are and what's your goal, where you want to be on the peak of your performance. And I think that's what I mean with changing the game in the way how people train, from standardized workouts to programming and periodization and much more flexibility and much more change in the way how you train. In the end, this will make everyone actually physically stronger or better.
I almost kind of think that you have to have that athlete's mindset first, or does the athlete's mindset come after you have kind of shown yourself what you can do in terms of training like one?
At a level that's much lower down, that they don't even know what an athlete's mindset is yet. And I think for those individuals, it's how to help them find themselves, help them find that mindset, help them understand what their potential is, so that then it can be realized. And then I think for others that are already playing in that zone, it's how to then elevate that and give them more of what Christian's talking about. I think for CENTR, it's been very much this notion of, I would say train like an athlete is one way of putting it. For us, it's also just how do you train to perform better, regardless of what that performing is.
Yeah, you have to define performance for yourself, really.
Right. Like, so for Chris, like he would be training for all these roles that he was in, and he had access to people across every facet of nutrition and mindfulness and movement and fitness. And he was sort of, why am I the only person that has access to all these amazing resources? How can we bring this to a much broader set of people so they have access as well? And that's really what gave birth to this whole thing, was how do we help people, regardless of whether the on-ramp is fitness or just mental clarity and mental strength, to how do I eat better? It's sort of all those ramps bring you into that, how do I live a healthier life? And then as a result, perform better.
I'm the biggest proponent of like bringing all the things to the plate because they all matter. You can train really hard and you can get great results, and then you can then focus on nutrition. But there are some, I think, missing components that a lot of people overlook that matter. Yep. And what I'm hearing you guys really talk about is the mental state, emotional state.
Yep.
What else are you all bringing to the table? What else should be brought to the table that you think most people overlook?
For us, it's the integration of all those pieces. To your point, one. If you do one and you skip the others, it's still not going to end up in a great place. Yeah. Mental health, which is mental wellness, mental fitness, mental clarity, all of those things are important. We believe sleep is one of the primary elements of this. That nutrition, how are you thinking about not just what you prefer to eat, but how does that power you through the day? And how does that match up with your workout, your training? Are you thinking about those pieces together? So it's the integration of the components as opposed to, like, I need if you had 4 different coaches and they never talk to each other, then it's sort of not helping you really.
Perfect analogy, yeah. Is there a preferred way, or maybe a way personally you have found to kind of approach that? Is there a hierarchy that works best for you?
I think there is an element of personalization where for each individual, there's a bit of a unique way that they approach how to live a healthier life. Like some things people are just kind of like, oh, I hate this. And other people are like, I love that. There's a lot of personal preference that's layered in. So I think it's really tapping into what makes somebody motivated and driven. So for me, like, I believe nutrition is probably one of the biggest pieces of the equation. That I've been unbelievably fit at different points in my life, but if the nutrition's off the rail, I'm a disaster. And so for me, nutrition plays a more central part.
Christian, for you, I have to imagine what everyone is doing to prepare for these competitive games. Nutrition is the lifeblood, is fuel. How are you guys kind of bringing this to the table and best preparing people for HYROX?
No, first of all, 100%. It's absolutely crucial that you know what kind of nutrition you should take in training and towards the competition. I mean, one reason is why we're partnering up with CENTR to have the tools and technology to provide the right solutions to the people. We have also been partnering up with a big nutrition brand in the world, and they are working on specific products for which we believe will be the best solutions in preparing yourself for the HYROX events.
So when HYROX is preparing for an event, putting out the course, the challenges, the criteria, is there a nutritional criteria component as well that you all kind of put out there, or does that kind of fall on each contestant individually?
Yeah, so far we couldn't provide that, but we are changing this right now. So together with CENTR, and it's My Protein, which is like a global partner, I think one of the biggest companies in the field. But it's not about just taking the existing products. It's really now to really look at it with a lot of science background. What are the right solutions for people for this sport?
Going from nothing,
exactly,
eat whatever you want, to a nutritionist, where you have a personal nutritionist, like that's like the spectrum. And we're looking sort of where in the middle can we bring better tools, better guidance to people. If you're a novice and you're just getting into something versus I want to be an elite 15 and I want to win.
Right, yeah.
Like, okay, the loading and how they eat are going to have to be different. And so how to bring that guidance and direction without going all the way to being like your personal nutritionist.
And I think our job is, in the first place, to provide something to the broader amount of people that don't have maybe the money, the resources to go to an individual nutritionist and pay for that. And you get your own individual. So we want to help everyone with very low barriers to get access to a good solution.
I feel like what you all both do, what CENTR does and what HYROX does, came out of necessity. It almost was inevitable that something that is focused around helping individuals where they're at with minimal equipment, minimal timing, kind of painting all the dots together for them at home, or not needing to have a community or go out during the pandemic, post-pandemic. And then with HYROX, I feel like it was the also second most inevitable thing of, we've been so secluded, we've been working out on our own, or maybe small groups, and we haven't really had access to, or to some varying degree, maybe feeling safe, or even having things that are open like they used to. So it's unique. I feel like you all are addressing the individual component of what we all went through of, if I'm gonna keep my health, if I'm gonna maintain any kind of semblance of that, I've got to do something. I might not be able to do all the things that I used to, but here's an option for me to keep the momentum. But then when I can, I'm going to get back out and I'm going to see people. I want to run next to people. I'm going to train next to people. What has been kind of the biggest aha moment for you guys, maybe individually, in going, yes, like people really want this because of what the world just went through the last 3-4 years?
But like when I went to the Anaheim competition last year, a year ago, first time I've ever been to a HYROX event. And I walked in and I was sort of, and I hadn't, honestly, no offense, I hadn't heard of it before I went to that competition. And I walk into this room and there must have been 2,000 plus athletes there. And just the vibration of energy that was in that room, I'm like, what is this? Like, what is happening here? And so then I start like learning more about it and seeing the competition. And the thing that was amazing was, other than the just energy that was there, was when people crossed the finish line, you saw everything. You saw doubles crossing together and hugging each other. You saw people that were like crossing and hitting a PR and psyched. And so it really meant the motivation, right? The why people were there was all over the spectrum.
It sounds like it was pretty clear that everyone came with their own individual. Like, this is what a win is going to look like and feel like. But they all experienced it, and then they all got to celebrate together.
They all supported each other. And it didn't matter if you were trying to be an Elite 15 or if you just were part of a relay, and you're just like, oh my God, we did that. How great was that? And so that community existed that way. It lifted the whole group. And when I saw that, I was like, this is what we're building at CENTR. Like, we want everyone to support each other on this journey. And at times it's an isolated journey. You're in your house. You're making, you make your own choices. People don't make your choices for you. It is a solitary existence. You choose what's right, what's wrong. I should get up and work out, or no, I'm gonna just sit on the couch. Whatever it is, you choose, no one else. But to see people supporting each other to help in those choices is amazing.
Yeah, I also have to say, I mean, we created HYROX not because of the pandemic. We actually started it before, because I always was, or I am the true believer that people, in the end, you like to come together and you want to enjoy something with more people, and you want to benchmark yourself and not alone. In the end, we want to socialize, right?
Yeah.
We are built like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are not built to be always alone in front of the computer. A lot of situations where we want to come together and we want to do something with a lot of other people. So I thought there was always this need. And so I always had the feeling that people want that and it will work out. I mean, I have to say, and then the pandemic came very quickly.
I was going to ask, how did you all navigate the pandemic? How did you navigate, we are a community-driven event, community-driven business. How did you survive?
Well, it was bad. Everything was literally down to zero. Of course, we did what everyone does. We created virtual events, etc., and did some cool things where we tried to keep the brand alive.
You got to share with me that. What does a remote HYROX event look like? What does a remote fitness community competition?
Well, it was actually quite cool. We had even virtual world championships. So we posted a certain workout which everyone had to do, and then it was. I mean, CrossFit is doing a little bit the same for the Open, even not because of COVID, but we copied a lot of these ideas. So you have to make a video of your workout. Of course, all the workouts were body workouts you can do basically in your living room.
So you had to boil it all down. Everybody had the same tools.
Exactly the same workout, and then you have to film yourself, and there's also a timing or a timer where we can see, and it's real time. So, and then they had to post they had to send us all the videos, And then we were looking at the videos, we were judging them.
Wow.
And then we had a ranking, and then we had elimination rounds, and then in the end we had the last 10, I think 8 athletes.
So
like
the whole
female and
experience
male.
was all individual up to a point, and you
Yeah.
were just competing against times. Interesting. Okay.
And then we had the virtual, like the final was like, we had a camera, so there were 8 athletes at the same time, so it had the camera on everywhere in the
Yeah.
world, and then it was really game, set, start. And then they started to do a workout all at the same time, competing against each other. But of course, they were not in the same room, so it was kind of a virtual thing. But since the pandemic was over, that actually gave us a real push, because suddenly you
Ready
had
for the
this
comeback.
feeling of everyone like, oh my God, I want to get out.
Yeah.
I want to meet people. I want to go to events now because I haven't done it for 2 years.
We had the inverse.
Yeah.
we had the pandemic, like, whoom, like
Yeah, of course.
Chris launched this right at the start.
If you got an at-home fitness offer during
Yeah,
COVID,
it was,
you
Of
were
course,
incredible.
everyone
Like,
was going
just
like
a
this.
straight
Yeah.
line, and then we at the same time created a relationship with Costco and brought in essentially, I don't even remember the quantity. It was an immense number of dumbbells into the United States, because
Not at my Costco. I couldn't find anything.
I know.
So they were all sold out.
We were
Everywhere.
bringing them in as
Yeah.
fast as humanly
Yeah.
possible. Like, I don't think in the history of the United States so many dumbbells have been sold in 12 months ever.
I haven't done one, but I've been to Spartan events. I've been to a lot of different fitness competitions, and I feel like it takes a special kind of person. There's a certain type of person that is just so driven to want to, first of all, compete, but also just, for lack of a better term, do it for something that doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that in a harsh way. Look, this isn't like the NBA or professional games. You're not a paid athlete. Maybe some are, in endorsements or something, but just how does the person know if something like this is for them? Do they need to have a certain kind of personality trait, a certain inner driver? Like, is this meant for everybody? How do you know if it is for you?
It's definitely not for everybody, because you need to have a little bit of a competitive gene or something, like that you're looking for this, but want to challenge themselves from time to time. It drives them off the couch and off the sofa. I also need that. I need a different motivation to go to the gym like 5 days a week or something, and to continue to do this instead of opening the bottle of red wine and say, I can do it tomorrow. Because in the moment you sign up for these kind of events, oh shit, the deadline is coming. I can't, if I'm not doing it today, I have to do it tomorrow, because then I know if I don't do anything, it will be painful.
Yeah. I think the motivator is the key. Like, I really think that helping people find their motivation, why do they do anything? Like, when you wake up in the morning, why do anything, right? And there's a reason.
True.
And so helping people really land why care, why drive, because whether it's an athlete or an executive or whatnot, these are all people that are performing at an elevated level. There's motivators that got them there. And so I think it's like, what's the gateway? Even if it's a small gateway, we give you a gateway that opens you up to the next level. Oh, here's another gateway. And those take you up. And like all the way up into events. Like I did the running leg of a relay team for a triathlon. I was like, I'm never going to do a triathlon. No way. I'm just going to do the running leg.
Because I know you're the running man in the group here.
So I did the running leg, and then I was like, oh, actually, I think I can do.
I should try.
I think I can do the whole thing.
Wow.
So the next year I trained, did the whole thing, and it was like one of the short ones, like the sprint. I was like, oh, I did do that.
Yeah.
I think I could do the Olympic distance. And it's right, everything's a gateway to the next thing. But if it's too big of a leap, you're never you don't have the motivation because it's just too far. You're like, oh, I don't. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it, but I'll never make that. So it's just make the next gate, like just one gate at a time.
When you step into a room, you step into a online portal, when you step into an event space, everyone around you has already gone through that kind of criteria. So you're kind of like selecting
It's
the
definitely
people that you
community.
want to be around, because we all chose to commit to something. We all chose to perform. We all chose our own individual reasons for winning and what success feels like, but we're all here. There's no guesswork. Whereas, not to knock it, you go to your typical gym or whatever, everyone can just be like, I'm just here. You know, it's totally different vibe, different energy, but it's like that's the champion mentality. That's the champion energy that you can like feel no matter where you are or what you're doing.
Yep.
Correct.
You bring some really unique history to the table. 12 years, right, with Disney.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does a Disney executive wind up in the health and fitness space? I got to know.
Yeah.
And more specifically, what do you think is unique about your experience working at Disney and running such a huge organization that makes you even more qualified for helping people in their health and fitness?
That's a lot of questions. So I would start with the why. How did I go from there to there? At Disney, I ran the digital and publishing entities for the company. So everything from all social for Disney, apps, to publish Marvel Comics, that world.
No way, wow.
And creating content, figuring out creative ways to bring content and tools to consumers around the world.
Can you give us any spoilers on Deadpool and Wolverine? I'm sorry.
Cannot, no, don't know. And luckily, I'm not surrounded by spoilers
He's going to get
any
with me
longer.
after, off air, everybody. I have to know more about Wolverine. But
And so it was great. In parallel to keep sane, I started going down health and wellness journeys of different kinds. I was an athlete in high school and college. I kind of got off the rail a little, then got back on and started doing half marathons and marathons, and ended up doing a couple of half irons and just sort of finding ways to stay sane. And then I was in a car accident, or I was a pedestrian hit by a car, and was pretty knocked sideways, broke pretty much this side of my body, and spent about a year and a half like recovering and coming out of that. Like, I think the importance of health and wellness was so elevated in my mind in terms of like the impact this has for everyone, that bringing what I learned at Disney and building products and reaching communities and doing things that are very positive, bringing that to the world of health and wellness felt like a natural continuum.
so many times in so many people's origin stories, I hear the reason why I'm here doing what I'm doing now today is because I kind of had a moment where that was taken away from me. Yeah. And I have such gratitude and appreciation for A, still being here, but B, realizing what this meat suit can go through. Yeah. And not only bounce back, but even in some ways bounce back even stronger.
Yeah, 100%. I was 6 inches away.
Wow.
6 inches from being gone. So definitely kind of puts everything back in perspective, and and you have to fight for it. Like, it was, you know, like I had to fight to get back to the position I was before, and you know, just a lot of PT. It's hard. It's hard.
I was we share Virginia in background, and my undergrad, like I was telling you, exercise science. When I enrolled, and for like the first semester of class, I was still using a cane after my injuries. And so it was even more interesting to see a guy, this 24-year-old kid, hobble into biomechanics, exercise physiology. He's like, yo, bro, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I think you're in the wrong class. Your class is in the hall.
Right, yeah. But I mean, this whole athlete's mindset keeps coming back to me. I mean, you have to kind of tap in here and make the choice first, and then decide to fight. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you're the only person who's going to fight for yourself is you.
Like, no one's coming to save you, right?
Or you can feel sorry, right? And you're now the victim side. So it's you're either the fighter or you're the victim, and I'd rather be the fighter than the victim.
So what is so unique about your experience, do you think, at Disney, working in that world of imagination and creativity and, you know, digital products, like you're saying, that you feel is a true asset for what you're doing now in the world of health and fitness and CENTR?
So we're sort of creating this integrated ecosystem of both digital content, utility tools, as well as physical products and tools, and looking at them holistically. Not like a connected fitness company, but more like there's all these different places that we can help individuals live healthier lives. And those on-ramps can come in lots of different ways. And I did very similar things at Disney, and like thinking about digital content, physical products, and how those sat together in one branded ecosystem. So Star Wars is a branded ecosystem. Marvel is a branded ecosystem. And in many ways, a 2-hour Star Wars film is amazing entertainment. It's also a 2-hour commercial for the brand, right? And
everything's marketing, right?
It is, right? When you're walking
yeah.
down an aisle at a store and you see a box on the shelf, it's
everything
a
is
product.
marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything is marketing.
Exactly.
Strong coffee.
HYROX. Brought to you by HYROX. Brought to you by HYROX.
I'm taking a page out of Chris Williamson's book with the Element water bottle there. Yeah.
So I think thinking about things in terms of like a brand and how do we have an emotional connection with an audience or with a consumer or with athletes where it really means something. It's not just a thing. It's not just a name. There's some deeper meaning to it. And that's what Disney's been built on for over 100 years. So bringing that into this category, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Yeah. And it's not easy, but we try to find like partners that are trying to do the exact same thing on their side. And that's where we felt like the CENTR HYROX, it was almost like we're looking at how to help people be accessible, be inclusive, and bring things that motivate and encourage success, but in totally different ways. So it was almost like two pieces that fit really well together.
I want to expand a little bit more there with you, please, Andrew. I love the aspect of creativity. Yeah. I love thinking outside of the box. And I think to all my other entrepreneurs and small business owners, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You have to. It's almost innate, or else you wouldn't be in business for yourself. You wouldn't be creating. And in order to excel in what you're doing, I think you need to lean more heavily into creativity. Are you all familiar with Rick Rubin, Creative Act?
Yeah.
Everybody, get this book.
Amazing.
Get his book. It's creativity meets Zen in just the most incredible way. You got to get the Audible. He reads it. It's so good.
In what good marketing? It's right there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I have no affiliation with Rick Rubin. I do have an Audible affiliate account.
Brought to you by Rick Rubin.
But seriously, and it even does wonders, because if you don't think of yourself as a creative person, the way that he just navigates the human experience and struggle and emotion and desire, man, really gets you like, oh, like I can be an artist. I can be a creative in a totally different way. My question for you, Andrew, is in what ways do you think people should be leaning more into creativity? How can they think more creatively so that they are in support of their health and fitness goals?
Well, I'll start with just the notion of creativity. I think that for people to really be creative, they got to get out of their own way. And one of the biggest blocks for creativity in any form is insecurity or some form of ego that blocks, right? And that creativity, people, oh, I'm not creative. Or that it's actually you are, like, but you're blocking yourself. So it's like how to kind of get that inner dialogue out and just kind of let the creativity flow. And then as it relates to health and wellness, I think it's how to tap into what you love. Because if you tap into what you love, it's like health and wellness isn't a chore. It doesn't need to be a chore. It shouldn't be a chore. It should be, what is it that you enjoy doing? And if you're not sure, then go out and try a whole bunch of things, and you'll figure it out. Like nutrition doesn't have to be a chore. Fitness doesn't have to be a chore. Like these are exciting things. Like I am competitive. Like I love doing things and getting a better time and being like, oh, I just shaved 10 seconds off my time. How great is that?
Yeah.
Like that
and to know that that's not by chance. That's because of the direct result of your work.
Right.
And your mindset.
I fought to get it. I earned that 10 seconds. And that for me is fun. And
nobody's doing that work for you.
Yeah. And then my point earlier about self-confidence and ego, like now you're kind of like, oh, I'm more self-confident because look what I just did. I did that. No one else did that. I did that. What else can I do? Right? And then people start to realize, oh my God, I can do so much more than I thought I could do.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty powerful. This is cool. Let's keep going. So,
well, for me, of course, creativity is like almost everything I do because
I've seen the events. They're pretty damn creative. The obstacles and the
especially the process of creating this needed a pretty like creative mindset. But for me, my whole life it was all about creativity in a way of looking for new solutions, create something new, and be ready to take risk. And you have to very believe in what you're doing. Even everyone tells you this will never work, or are you crazy, or don't risk your money. I mean, there's always 10 million times more arguments to say no than yes, right? And to say, fuck it, I do it.
Yeah.
I think I always personally, I was always, I think, a pretty creative person, and it's for me the biggest driver in my life. But this is more coming from the entrepreneurial side, of course.
Right. Yeah.
So, and for when it comes to normal people about training or something, I mean, then creativity probably means try different things out, right?
It means fail a lot.
Don't be afraid of do crazy things that are very new, where you think, oh, I can never do this, or and there's there are so many opportunities you can do, right? And then
and creativity doesn't have a bucket.
I try everything that's out there in sport and fitness, but more, of course, also because it's my job actually to do that. Because I think I need to test everything to say I like it or I don't like it. Of course, it's a very personal opinion, but I try everything out, and then I choose the things which I think makes most sense for me. And then hopefully there are other people that also have the same feelings that I have. And then it can work also as a business. It can work and can be successful. But bottom line, yes, creativity is super important, and I think it's a foundation of every brand, right?
I believe so. Like,
otherwise, Star Wars started with.
Otherwise, it's not authentic, right? Like, if it doesn't have the creative voice, it's not really authentic. And I think our collaboration was a perfect example of creativity in how we worked together to reimagine the equipment to bring into the competition. Like, I thought that was, it wasn't just...
How so? What do you mean by that?
Well, it wasn't just like taking a name.
Did you have to rebuild the barbell, the dumbbell?
We rebuilt, essentially. We said...
Rebuilding the fitness wheel.
We wanted to look at like what's not just the design language, but the utility of the product. How can we make it better? How can we make it work better in the competition, and as a result, work better outside of the competition? And it was kind of like a blank slate where we got to just talk about what they were looking for in the competition, what experience did we have in architecting, designing different pieces, and as a result, we came up with some pretty, I think, clever uses. Like we have like these interlocking sled bumper plates that lock in on the sled, but because they're interlocking and they lock in, you can see the weight size going all the way up the side of the sled. So it's like everything's 25 kg, 25 kg, 25 kg.
That's a great visual for anybody performing. And
so for social, when you've got these photos that come through of what you're doing, it's now no longer a blank black plate.
Right.
It's actually, look how much I'm pushing, right? And it's from motivation, all that. It does make a difference.
I'm wondering, is recreating classic fitness tools like the plate, putting the number on a different spot, dumbbells, barbells, bags, whatever, is that more beneficial for the business side of fitness? Maybe trainers or gym owners, or you all even, who are looking for ways to, like, to our point earlier, I need to find a better way to brand or be more efficient in what I'm doing, to have more output potential with minimal equipment. Or is it better for the consumer? Is it time for us to reinvent the barbell? Is the consumer, is the person going to be better suited with a reimagining of classic fitness equipment that's actually going to improve their fitness?
I mean, I think if it's a problem looking for a solution, then no. Like if it's just like, solution looking for a problem, then no.
There we go.
But I think that what we were trying to figure out was not just design, but utility, and how, like, so for example, the interlocking plates. They serve that visual purpose. They're also easier to take on and off. So
which in a competition really matters.
For people to load and unload.
Speed and
injury
time.
Prevention at home probably too.
Much faster, less risk of injury. So that's a utility. On the sleds, we added knurling with line markers on the push pulls. So when you go to the pole to push the sled, we added knurling. So now instead of when you're sweaty, your hands slip on the pole.
Oh, wow.
There's now a very light knurling, not so abrasive, but enough to give you a little bit more traction. And because we've got line markers going down the pole, you now know where to put your hand when you go. And so it gives you...
That's so subtle, but so...
Yeah. So it's utility.
And it is a training... It helps in training too, because the deeper you go, the harder it is to push. It's a different kind of a workout, rather than pushing the poles on the top.
Yeah.
So we can even integrate this into the training on purpose.
Absolutely.
Not random grabbing. So you say, no, today we go like 3 levels down, and then it's a different kind of workout.
Perfect is when it's design and utility. You're achieving everything. And like the kettlebells, we redesigned the kettlebell from having a round ball to making a little bit more edged inside, a little bit more oval-like. And so when you're doing farmer's carry, right, and you're walking like this, you don't have this thing bouncing off your knees. It slides right through.
You guys read my mind on that. I love farmer's carry, but man, that is the biggest pain in my ass. I get chafing on the right side if I'm not wearing like the right kind of shorts. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you just think it's something you have to just endure.
Or you don't. Or you can make it better.
Okay, so speaking of making it better, AI. I feel like everybody and their brother is integrating AI in some way right now, whether it's our day-to-day life, our scheduling, our business, equipment. I'm curious, what role does AI have in you all's world of community fitness events, equipment, at-home workouts? For you all, the business side, but also what role do you think AI has in terms of most potential for someone to help their health and fitness? Like, how can we use it on our own end?
Yeah, I believe the biggest impact of AI will be that it's possible to provide basically kind of personal coaching to everyone for very little money. Because AI is smart enough to analyze, if you put enough data in, AI is smart enough and learns and is probably maybe even better than the best coach in the world to design the best workout for every individual person.
I know Whoop put out theirs recently. I think it was the end of last year, based on all your data points. I think it's integration with ChatGPT. You can AI coach right in.
Yeah, exactly. Because so far you have the Whoop data, but the majority of people has no idea what to do with it. Now, what does this mean? So how does this relate to a certain training I should do? Right. That's why we discussed this morning, right? Yeah. Very affluent people pay $300 an hour to a personal coach, but who can afford to do that? Yeah. So the only chance you have as a normal person, you go to a group class, which costs whatever, $20, but it's never a personalized training because it's a very standardized training with 30 people in the class. I think AI can be an amazing solution that you basically get your really personalized training plan.
Is HYROX using AI?
Not yet.
Not yet.
So what we are creating, in the moment we started with creating these events in the sport. And now we are creating this training side of it, the training methodology and the service to gyms, etc., to help them to implement proper and good HYROX training into their gyms, which is all based already digital. We are launching a digital university academy where people can take a class and become a certified coach.
A HYROX coach.
A HYROX coach. Really? And then you have different levels, almost up to a professional level where you can train elite 15 athletes.
Yeah.
And the next step is to use AI in that field. But this is probably something we will do together with CENTR because this is B2B, what we offer. And I mean, together we're working on the B2C solution. And I think that's where we will use AI to exactly provide the service of a personal coach for little money, which is really individualizing your results. And coming back to nutrition, so there's these interesting companies now where you can send your little piece of your blood in, etc., or whatever. And so into the lab, and they send you back your very individual results. And then you send this to let's say to MyProtein, and they come up with a very individual nutrition mix of nutrition, which is exactly designed for your body.
Very personalized nutrition.
Very personalized.
Can't beat that.
And then we have maybe AI that then takes all of that information to create the best training plan for you. So how much should you run? How much you should do this and this? How much stretching you need to do to get the best out of your body. And everyone decides, it's your choice how many hours you want to put in, right? Every week. It doesn't matter. If you say 2 hours, fine, it's 2 hours a week. If you say 20 hours, better.
It's so good. It's like real-time feedback that I think most people will really appreciate in order to stay adherent to no matter what their goals are. But I have to assume CENTR already has some kind of integration with that, no?
Well, so there's the two sides of it. There's the data, there's getting the data in, and then there's what do you do with the data that then taps into AI to push out something in return? And so Whoop is a great example of it's collecting data right now, right? Like heart rate variability, all that sort of stuff, so that it can give you some coaching as a result of what's happening. We're looking at all the ways that data can be captured. So there's biomarkers. You can have camera-based tech that can sense movement. You can use mixed reality or virtual reality as another mechanism for capturing data, right? You know, if you're wearing a headset, you got movement, you got all these things.
Right, yeah.
So it's all collecting data, accelerometers, biomarkers. It's just massive amounts of data. So getting data, increasingly not hard. Many, many ways to get data. And it's then, how do you take that data and then do real time, as close to real time as possible, feedback of form correction or workout changes on the fly. Oh, that seems a little bit too heavy. Let's
last
dial
rep
it
was a
back.
little off kind of
No,
thing. Yeah. Fix your posture.
So that's where we're working a lot on right now, is how to get as close to that real time both experience as well as coaching as possible.
In general, what are you all most excited for in the world of technology, community, and human potential? Are we on the right path? Are we trying to do too much right now? Are we trying to integrate too many different technologies too soon? Are people starting, thinking they're capable of doing too much just because what we have access to? We can see so many people doing all these crazy things. What are you excited for? And what is the most realistic and most safe?
Well, first of all, I'm excited that the world is getting healthier and people understand that that the pandemic was the only good thing about the pandemic for me. Bottom line was that everyone understood if I am generally fitter and healthier, I'm also more resistant to any kind of these diseases or whatever is coming around and hitting us, right? I think, and now of course we are in the Western world where it's pretty developed, and the awareness of it, that it is important for you. You live longer and healthier and you have more fun, especially when you get older, and we can speak a lot about this. Yeah. I think that's a big part. Look, when I was younger, you think, I don't care, I'm young, I'm strong, it doesn't matter. And which is okay, which is correct. But when you hit the 50s or the 60-year-old mark, you realize, shit, if I have started earlier, I would now be in a better shape.
That seems to be the way it goes.
Because what you miss in the early days, you will not keep up. It's very hard to keep up later when you're getting older.
It's far easier to maintain health and fitness than it is to develop. Aside from, I think, the beginning, everybody gets those newbie gains. You get pretty quick wins. Right. But once you've laid the foundation of a few years, you go off track a little bit here and there, you can go back to your maintenance so much more quickly. At least in my experience, I think
100%.
any seasoned
because
person will tell you
100%.
that.
There. It's like it's
exactly
encoded.
I also started with. I tried to be a professional athlete, never could really achieve it. But since then I never stopped training. So it's totally what you say. If you have this foundation, it's much easier to keep up and get back in shape than when you stop doing nothing for 10 years.
Yeah. And
then you start again with 50, it will be very hard to get back into that shape. So I think this whole awareness of that this makes sense and it's important. And not only physical exercise, I mean stretching.
Right.
I think the biggest
movement, physical activity.
The biggest disease we have these days is actually mental problems. When you read this, how many people are it's very
especially
weird
now post-pandemic, we have so many new or exacerbated mental health.
For sure.
concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I know people are stressed out, burned out, right? Depression is like one of the biggest, massive diseases in the world. And you think, why? Because you think, we're living in the best time the world has ever seen. I mean, no one is starving, in our world at least, right? You have access to almost everything. If you want education, good food, good nutrition, everything, and still people create massive problems and can't deal with all the opportunities, and it's too much. So I think physical fitness, etc., can help a lot in that area, and to help people to find good solutions
and to have like
to do it.
A newfound or revisiting this deep appreciation for it.
Yeah.
I think is what I'm hearing. The direction we're heading, people take it more seriously and they recognize its importance other than just a luxury.
I think it gives clarity too. Like it helps get rid of some of the noise in the head that is, I think people struggle to figure out how to make sense of at times. Fitness kind of like almost says, we're taking that offline. We're going to take that offline. We're going to go work out for a half hour. You can come back to it. And then when you come back to it, you're like, oh my God, that noise is gone. So I think it's this notion of fitness is really good for mental health in so many ways. And I think that like, there's probably been never a better time in terms of technology or just companies in the health and wellness and fitness space than there are today. Like it's incredible. Like is there too much technology? I don't know. At times, I'm sure there is. The connected fitness sort of trend and all the investment that was flowing into it. Like it's like anything, right? It's AI is like that now. Also, if you have AI in your company description, like you're out raising capital. I'd say it's not all about raising capital. Like, do you have a real business model, and are you solving a real problem? And that should be the driver. And you'll go through these trends where there's too much of something. Eventually, it'll right size.
Before I get into my last question, I just want to say again, guys, thank you so much for your time. Love seeing these two worlds come together, but to actually talk about the two worlds coming together, we have the World Series of Fitness meets personalized equipment and coaching to fuel your movements, meals, and mind.
Yep.
Can you describe for us what this collaboration partnership actually looks like? And part two, for the other entrepreneurs, business owners out there that maybe I'm just dead set in my lane doing my thing, but how would you advise them to go back to the creativity a little bit? What should I be maybe looking for to partner, to join forces with somebody else that, hey, we can both really win well together? Because partnerships aren't easy and not always top of mind for people. So what is it? What is HYROX and CENTR? What is this collaboration? And then what model would you want to help pass back for other people to hopefully emulate the same thing or something similar?
Well, HYROX and CENTR, we want to give accessible functional fitness, which I believe is the healthiest way of training in the right mix of what you do. We want to give this a name, a brand, and we want to make this accessible everywhere in the world by providing the best competitions to everyone who wants to do that, help gyms to provide the best training with very smart and amazing equipment that helps you to do it. And then with the digital part of CENTR together to provide people, let's say, the best digital platform to get access to the right training, to the right nutrition, and to the right mindset. All that together, I think, and that's the goal what we want to achieve together, that we provide this to the world, and not everyone will do it, and some people will love other stuff, which is totally fine. But we think there will be a large community and a big amount of people that will choose this because they believe this is the right platform for me or the right thing to do, and it has a massive longevity. So this is a sport and a training with all the tools we provide that you can start with 16 and you can continue your. I think our oldest participant so far is 84.
84-year-old participant in the HYROX game.
Yeah. So you can do it actually for a long time. Actually, you can do it your whole life.
No matter who's listening or watching, the goal of this has been to help them move forward in their life in a unique area of their total well-being. To live a life ever forward, I say. So those two words, when you guys hear those two words, what do they mean to you? How would you describe it? How do you define it? What does living a life ever forward mean to you? Andrew?
Yeah, I would... on the spot. So I would say that living a life ever forward, effectively, even when you feel like you're going backwards, you're going forward. That everyone falls down. Everyone makes a mistake. Everyone's learning all the time, right? So you feel like you're going backwards, but the outcome of that is actually you're always going forward. So, feeling like you have to live up to some standard that's not real or not attainable is an illusion. So like lighten up on yourself and know that you are literally living a life ever forward.
Yeah. Even especially when you think you're not. I think that's crucial.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Christian, how does that fall on you today, man?
I've realized in my life that everything I do is about trying to minimize failures. I accepted that. When I was young, I tried to be perfect. That stressed me out, and I was chasing something.
Sounds stressful.
I was chasing something because you read all these amazing books about people that do everything perfect on the front side.
Our interpretation of it is, yeah.
So I realized I never be perfect. It's all about minimizing failure. My next presentation is not perfect. Can always do it better. I might miss the next timing of a meeting or whatever it is. And I accepted this. And now I feel better than ever in my life in trying things out. But I accept failure. I accept it. I'm not 100% perfect, but I'm very happy with that. And that took away all the stress actually in what I do and what I create. Yeah. And I'm happy with what we achieve. So I'm looking, it's like, is the glass half empty or half full? So for me, the glass is always half full. Even though you can add more water into the glass. But I think for me, that's the way to go ever forward. And when you get older, for me, is don't fall into these cliches of, oh, now I'm 55 now, I can't do these things anymore. I mean, I have so many friends that already planning their retirement.
Oh man, yeah.
And I think, hey, dude, this is in fucking 10 years. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yourself,
and maybe it's in 20 years.
Right. Or maybe it doesn't have
Today,
to be ever.
Maybe you're right. Yeah,
I'm not planning to stop. I have no game plan to stop working. I probably will invent the next thing when this is successful. And so I keep making plans. I keep going on. I train, and I don't accept like rules where everyone thinks now, oh, now you can't do this anymore or whatever. You have to behave in a certain way because of age or whatever. So I think for me that's important. That this is a mindset of going ever forward.
Yeah.
By breaking, not accepting the normal rules, etc. So I think.
Absolutely.
That's my message.
Never right or wrong answers. I appreciate both. We're going to have everything listed down in the show notes for everybody, but if they don't know, where can they go to connect and learn more about HYROX and CENTR?
So www.centr.com, CENTR.com. And if you put in the code HYROX30, I believe you will receive a 30-day free trial to CENTR to help you on your journey.
All right.
Oh, good to know. I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, it's like the marketing, you know.
Well, HYROX is simple also. Go to hyrox.com. So
HYROX.
HYROX.com. Find a race, which now are everywhere in the world. We will have 64 major events this year.
Wow.
Everywhere in the world. And we are having great events coming up in the US as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, DC is this weekend. It will be a bit too short, but we have Houston coming up, Anaheim in this area.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Which is in May, end of May. And New York City will be an amazing, very, very cool event in Pier 76 in Midtown.
Oh, man.
So, if you want to try the new version of a mass participation fitness event, give it a try.
I was going to, to hear you're in Houston, I was going to send information to my brother. My brother lives in Houston, but he just found out he has a hernia. So, so he's out of the game.
Next year.
Yeah.
Next year, yeah.
But, well, guys, this was great. Thank you so much.